Anyways, friends, welcome back. This is sort of part two on the Tucker Carlson, Vladimir Putin interview, and I want to talk about what's next because, like I even mentioned in the previous video, I like to listen to other people who sort of talk about Russia. I like to hear different takes and different ideas, even if sometimes I don't really agree with them. But one thing no one is talking about, so we're going to talk about here, is what's next. Because Tucker Carlson was in Russia for presumably, 4 or 5 days, something like that. And he did a lot of stuff. He went sort of all over the place. He went to the it's like McDonald's 2.0 that now is the Russian name. He went to a grocery store at the very least. There seems to be a lot of videos of him shaking hands and talking to people who recognize him, this, that, and the other. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that. First off, if I could ask Tucker Carlson one question about this may seem weird or kind of trivial, but I kind of wanted to know, does he realize how famous he is here? Does he also realize that he's famous because everyone steals everything he's ever done, even for years at Fox News, and translates it and posts it online here for free? And that he's actually one of the most respected Americans in Russia, after yours truly, of course. But I just kind of wanted to hear his hear his take on being like, it would be like tomorrow if I woke up and people were like, dude, you are hot in Indonesia. I'd be like, wait, what? I'm hot in Indonesia. This is cool. I approve of it, but how did that happen? I'd be really mystified. So, anyways, that's kind of my personal curiosity. But besides him actually being a celebrity as he arrived here in a country I think he had never ever been to in his life previously, where he definitely doesn't speak the language, I'm kind of curious as to see what other video material he has. Because with the Putin interview, it was just the interview. But I think in some ways it'll be very telling because we've seen, someone the other day was telling me that they sort of asked me, they're like, why do all the foreigners who move to Russia, why don't they all just start blogging? Well, sometimes part of the problem is when you're in that weird legal stage and you're kind of here on visas and you can't get that temporary residency, or you haven't gotten especially to permanent residency, it's hard to work. You've got a lot of free time. So there's a little bit of that, but and I would also say it's a lot bit because there's a little bit of not being able to work. But the big bit is that I can say for myself, one of the reasons I started doing videos on the internet is just because we're so lied to about Russia, and it drives a lot of people nuts. And then they come here, and everything is a lot more sane and normal and boring, and certainly not out to get you in Omaha, And so anyways, I think when Tucker Carlson, where am I going with this? A lot of people have done some interesting videos where they've shown, hey, this is what it's actually like at some grocery store in Russia. Sometimes YouTube algorithm will tolerate it, sometimes it won't. But there's been a lot of sort of sanctioned myth busting done by people who've just sort of done it by themselves. There's this one kind of chubby guy who does a lot of those types of videos where he just films at stores. And I'm not referring to myself as I'm a buff yet also chubby guy. But anyways, I forget what his name is, but and it's not just him, it's a lot of people. But the thing is, with Tucker Carlson, with his millions and millions and millions and millions of people, were to show that kind of content where it will get millions and millions and millions of views, and it's also going to come from Tucker Carlson, who is a very respected individual. Someone's not going to think it's Kremlin propaganda or whatever. Well, besides Hillary Clinton. She thinks everything's Kremlin propaganda. But I think that that's going to actually have a really, really big impact. I know that might sound dumb, and again, people are going to be like, Tim, that sounds dumb, but it's stuff like that where if he releases within a day and 5 million people, 10 million people in the Western world see that the Russian stores are fully stocked and they're full of people, and also that there's capitalism here, and that there are buildings here. I know I was just in yet another discussion with people where they were talking to foreigners, and the foreigners were mystified that Russians live in modern buildings and not something like huts. I know it's major cognitive dissonance to see world nuclear superpower yet live in huts, but then again, the Soviet Union was kind of weird, and they actually a lot of people in the Soviet Union actually did live in some pretty squalid conditions in the 50s when those nuclear missiles were being built. So maybe there was some truth at some point to that, but that truth is long gone and vanished into the past of history. So anyways, I think whatever of these sort of little snippets. The other thing too is, guys, I don't know. Maybe he just went to Russian McDonald's or the grocery store just for fun. But if he didn't film it, that was very stupid because that could be some very good topical content. So I don't have any proof because I didn't exactly see him with a giant camera crew in any of those photos. But I hope that he's actually going to release some kind of video where he actually gets to the discussion about what he saw with his own eyes and how normal Moscow is and how safe it is and how in the stores there's food and how people, for the most part, I assume, walked up to him and generally had nice things to say, because even Russian people who are very sort of like more, you're kind of more militant patriotic, they like him. So I don't know. I really, really am now actually, after this interview, which again was promised to have grand revelations, and I thought, and a lot of other people thought, that there might be some sort of ultimate, like, super conservatives of the world unite sort of message being in it. That didn't happen either. After this, I really think that in some ways, if Tucker does release a lot of more slice of life, or as they say in Japan, moe, material, that could really also change the game. Because again, as I have said many, many times, and everything I try to say to Russians about how they need to communicate with the Western world fall on deaf ears. It's a lot of this more what these sort of, again, the inside of a store looks like, what the streets look like, what's it like walking around. A lot of that stuff is actually, especially coming from an ultra mega celebrity that whose opinion people care about, and who is so famous and powerful and is apparently on good terms with Elon Musk. So he's goody there on X/Twitter. It can really make a statement. It can really make a powerful statement with that. So I think that he's going to do that, but again, I could be wrong. Maybe he was just like put on some sort of weird press tour and he was like, okay, I'll just go to McDonald's and I'll order a quarter pounder that's used to be called, oh man, what was it called? It's now the Royale. Oh man. Or was it the Grand or something? Who the hell knows? But anyways, order a quarter pounder and enjoy it and find out that they've become much more moist. The new McDonald's, it has more greasy moisture in the meat, in my opinion. So, that's where I think this is going to go. This is also, again, guys, I want to give you some unique takes on things. If anyone wants to call in, now would be a good time. And I'm going to check on any messages if anyone wrote. Remember, if you write anywhere on Tim Kirby Russia, if you comment under anything, I see it, basically. And this does not look related of what's there, because I don't have too much more to say. But I just wanted to make the point that it would be really, really good if Tucker Carlson, in his own way, Ann wants to talk. And this has to be related to the topic. If it's not related to the topic, can't do it. All right, hello.
Yeah, of course it's related to the topic.
In Moscow or the Putin interview with Carlson. Either of those topics. Go.
Oh, yeah. No, the Putin interview, of course. My 2 cents worth, everyone's giving theirs, but very, very important to me. The big takeaway is it's the beginning of diplomacy. And, we pray that it is. I thought what I saw in Putin was that this is a man and a country that's been through a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And I clearly saw the amount of deceit that they experienced after having overcome unspeakable difficulties. And they trusted with some degree of the honor of old days, and they were deceived. He asked for respect, and I think he behaved that way. A man who deserves respect won't beg for it. Suggested he was Socratic in his method, and if you notice when it ended, he sort of said, "Time will go on, and love will." I'm saying love will prevail. between people, and as it has throughout history, we wouldn't have made any
Oh
progress.
yeah,
So
he sort of made the point that like he didn't, again, he, like you just said, the way you said it was a little different. He didn't say it this way, but he kind of was just like, I think he believes that eventually, given better circumstances, this whole spell of evil that's sort of taken over a lot of the people in Ukraine will eventually be sort of removed, and that they'll come to see themselves as being part of the Russian world again, and that everyone will be able to get along. So yeah, he sort of left it on an optimistic note, but he sort of, yeah, he definitely implied that that's sort of like a uh, the next generation will maybe see things this way. It was definitely not anything in the short term, nor did he really have too much hope. Because the one thing you said about diplomacy, and again, I think that this is definitely a triumph for, which I've mentioned giving interviews about this in Russia, because of course when anything happens related to America, they call me. But I sort of mentioned to them that, like, look, this is the moment when finally, after all these years of people asking me about how to do like people's diplomacy, like diplomacy where you actually reach the common masses in America, this is probably the first time I've seen a real success. Maybe I might be off on that, but it's definitely a big success on that front, if not the only one. But it was definitely
yeah,
a big change. But the problem is the establishment doesn't care. The establishment doesn't
well,
care what people in Kansas think. So
well, you have to keep following up. You have to keep on it.
yeah, well, yeah, there's no reason not to do it. But I kind of, in some ways, disagree with Putin about how he said that it's too expensive to do propaganda against the West. Propagating the truth is cheaper. It's still expensive, but it's cheaper. So I don't know if I quite agreed with him on that, but I could kind of see how he's just very frustrated. I think he feels very, very, or at least that's what he wanted to convey in this interview. He's like, I've had enough of this. I have had enough. I'm done. Very kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep. There's only so much abuse you can take,
yeah,
and I think I saw. I don't want to say the word. I don't want to say he was hurt, but I think that since he ended with the soul will unite. A good soul is hurt, but
yeah,
does what it has to do. So yeah. Praise to the Russian soul, which is in the literature and everywhere.
yeah.
And
But that Russian soul stuff. No, see, that hurts me, and I'll explain why. Because Russians never discuss the Russian soul except when they talk to foreigners. So that's like one of my least favorite things. That's kind of like when even Americans who are really happy with America, and they'll see someone who's like 500 pounds and they have a shirt that's like, America's always right. These colors don't run. And you're always like, well, we want to like America, but could we not be corny about it? And that's always how I feel now about like the Russian soul stuff. It is so corny, and it's such an excuse to. It's a real excuse for anti-intellectualism, because it's like there's a lot of phenomenons in any culture, but people who are this big Russian soul kind of thing can just be like, oh, Russian soul is mysterious, don't think about it, we're just mysterious and that's the way we are. It's like, no, no, no. So I don't know. So sorry, I'm a big no, what's the opposite of an advocate? Critic of this Russian soul concept. It's a kind of a fake concept. But anyway,
Oh, okay, well, let me just to simplify that for you,
yeah,
if you don't want to use that word, if it's been
yeah,
overused. Heart.
yeah, yeah,
It's a culture and a people that have heart and put emphasis on things of the heart. I think he said that about the culture. It was very human oriented.
yeah. And
And
that's one of the
so,
nice parts about living here. I'll tell you that much. But on the other hand, remember we do have a lot of bureaucracy in Russia, but that all really came from the Soviet Union, which was not so much human oriented. So I think that's one thing I try to point out to people is that's like, guys, if we do want to have this really humanistic society, we've got a lot of bureaucracy which is anti-human. Let's think about this. But so,
right.
but yeah, but I would say definitely people want to have a very humanistic, not so much scientific rational society. I'll definitely tell you that much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for calling in. Well, that was nice. That was a very good call. Awesome. All right, very good. If someone else wants to call in, they can call in. I'm gonna check the messages here. Is there anything new? Again, this all has kind of nothing to do with anything in the chat. It's kind of hard. I kind of wish I had a dedicated chat just for this, but that's okay. That's okay. So, anyways, again, what's going to happen next? What Ann sort of mentioned about diplomacy, again, one of the main problems is that, it's really hard to actually get diplomacy to happen, like on the top of things. I saw one video that came out like right after this, and it was almost like Putin sends a message that he's willing to sort of make sacrifices and give up. I didn't hear that. So a lot of times people can hear all sorts of stuff in this. I did not hear anything about Putin being like, "Oh, we've got to make peace and we've got to make sacrifices." I didn't say anything about that. So yeah, I don't know. But again, I'll tell you one thing that this definitely was not. It was not staged. It seems 100% legit based on all the conversations, all the interviews I've done. And you can even see he also had that very common pace where during the process of when you interview someone, sometimes they can sort of either go warm, they can like warm up to you, or they can sort of go cold. I can even see that with myself. Like if anyone, I've had for this one channel about foreign people, the interview was kind of fun, and I like the interviewer, but it was 3 hours, so I can tell with the way they edited it, like the third hour part. So by the third hour part, I'm already in Putin's mode. It's like, I've been talking for 2.5 hours. Leave me alone. Let me get coffee. And so I think the tone sort of shifts with the timing. Unfortunately, though, I don't think she actually planned it, the questions, by how annoyed I'd be. I'll put it this way. If you really want to get me in trouble, do a nice multi-hour interview with me and put like the most annoying questions at the end. That's when you'll catch me saying all the bad words and bad things about people and maybe letting my emotions sort of get away with me. But anyways, I think the interview is legit. But the topic of this video, again, goes back to, I think the content around the interview that I hope was filmed, because again, I can assume because there was some social media posts, but who knows, maybe Tucker was here and all he wanted to actually film was that interview and he didn't film all the other stuff he did. But I think in some ways, maybe all that other little stuff he did with the going to the store and the McDonald's or McDonald's 2.0, maybe that's really what matters, guys. If you think about it, because he's such a trusted person, when he posts up that video of everything he saw at the store, and especially if they show the prices in dollars and all this other stuff and everything that's available and all these random people coming up to him and talking to him and all their random opinions and all this stuff, it is going to do basically what I've been trying to do with the English speaking side of my career, especially the more fun content I do on my travel channel. He's essentially going to do within a couple video posts what I've tried to do for like the last 5 years. So on the one hand, I feel kind of salty because I got my butt kicked, or I will get, in theory, I'll get my butt kicked soon. That hasn't happened yet. So I'm kind of salty, but we should let our individualistic, petty emotions and our ego, we should put that aside for the greater victory of truth and building peace between Americans and Russians and breaking down the stereotypes of the Cold War, because that's another thing. Guys, when you live here, and especially when you work in politics, and you're this sort of like bridge between the East and West in a lot of projects, man, the Cold War's got to die. The Cold War has to die, my friends. It has to be extinguished. It has to be thrown into a bag and then like chucked into a river. This Cold War perception of Russia that permeates from your common guy in the West all the way up to your establishment. Of course, their stereotypes are different, but they're all really horrible and they're all really inaccurate. Or they were, like I said, maybe they were accurate in 1950, but I don't know. It's got to change, and I think that his videos have the power to do it. But again, like I just said, when those videos do come out and they do make that much change, it'll kind of maybe annul the value of all the work I've done over the last 5 years, and I will be both happy. I'll be happy for the future of Russian America, but I'll be real salty for myself. So maybe there'll be some sad drinking going on in the near future here at Fort Kirby. But someone else wanted to talk. Grace. Oh my gosh. Sorry I was ignoring you. Hi, Grace. Hello. You had some comments, especially relating to either the Tucker Putin interview or what Tucker's going to do next. Hello, Grace. Remember to click on your microphone so you can talk. It should be in the center, the microphone.
Oh, hi,
Hello.
hi, Tim. Hey, Tim.
Hi.
Thank you for doing this. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, for me, I didn't really see any sign that it was like stage because,
Mm-hmm.
in fact, it seems like Tucker was kind of like really paying attention
Yeah.
and contemplating of what he has to respond next or how he will respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I, in a way, for me, Tucker was not so much on his let's say best because I don't know. When I say best, it's not that he did bad, but it was just that he. I guess he wasn't as equal. He knows that
Mm-hmm.
Putin is Putin. He
Yeah.
couldn't be equal to Putin. So
Well,
right,
yeah, because one thing
but
is yeah, because he started initially trying to like come up with all these like counter questions, but you could tell Putin hated all those questions. He was like, that question's dumb. I'm just gonna keep going. So it was kind of maybe for him a bit of a tough interview because you know again, like Putin said, I'm I thought, are we here to do a show or are we here to do a real dialogue or something? And so I think Tucker kind of let a little bit of it just kind of flow and let him speak, because Putin was not responding very well to his attempts to kind of like push him down a line of logic, well, the line of logic that Tucker Carlson sees. So
and that's good for Tucker because he looks so professional doing that. You
yeah.
know, he don't want to be triggering anything, and
Mm-hmm.
it seems like also that he basically kind of became um like let's just say like a connection from America, like not a pawn in a bad way,
Uh,
but at least now you know he could be bringing also what what Putin needs to share. Although I
mm-hmm.
I don't really think that he cares much of what the Americans or other countries think, but as you know, he would just like he would really care more of how the interview happens for
Mm-hmm.
his own people, and
Yeah.
that's very respectful of him. I like it when he kept saying, "Is this a show? Is this going to be a show or
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
dialogue?" It's
Well, yeah.
perfect. So thank you, Tim.
Oh, then thank you for listening, and also too, we always appreciate when Putin gets a little, fired up, and you'll see on Joaquin's channel, he made the point that at some point, one of Putin's answers to one of the questions was just, who the hell knows, which is, it's really those kind of things are always hilarious because they come from these sort of major political figures, and it also I think that that expression, who the hell knows is really the feeling of it. Unfortunately, although the translator did a really good job, he said hell knows, which isn't. It really is who the hell knows. That's a expression that seems to exist in both English and Russian. And yeah, it's kind of he kind of a little bit dropped the ball on that, but the translator did a good job. Like he did a really, really 10 out of 10 good job, the English translator. So whoever that guy is, he is a boss. He only had like a couple little flubs besides that one. Yeah, so good stuff. Anyways, I see some comments, but JA wants to speak. Hello, JA. Hi, you want to talk about Tucker Carlson, be it the interview or what he's going to do next?
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I think some of you kind of read sometimes what I post. I am Russian born. I live in California.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's Swedish, so I had a kind of privilege by speaking both languages,
Yeah.
English and Russian, to listen to interview in both languages, which I was shocked how drastically different my impression of two different languages became. Like my impression of English was a lot more flat and not as personal,
Yeah.
because obviously the person who was speaking, the color of his language, expression, tone of voice, was the most important to understand even intentions.
Yeah.
Then when I re-listened to it in Russian this morning, I had absolutely total impression about the president himself
Yeah.
as a little bit more alive and more natural person. And but overall, I, of course, I did not learn pretty much anything new because I do speak language and I read and I understand history and I studied it, and of course, but what happened in my family, it was a very honest discussion about lots of points the
Mm-hmm.
president made in my family with children, which is very good connection to
Well,
explain to
then
me
let me ask
to
you
explain them.
of the people you know who aren't connected to Russia in some way, okay, in America,
Mhm.
especially in California, do you think any of them cared about this at all?
Again, like I used to say, I always say to people around, everyone has its own America, and everyone has their own Russia, own experience.
Mm-hmm.
When some people from Russia say, "Oh, all Americans are stupid," of course, it's not true, and vice versa, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in my surrounding of people of different backgrounds and languages, many people did care,
Yeah.
at least to understand the point of view. Um, but I have an experience when people come and say, "Oh, what a wonderful accent you have. Where are you from?"
Mm-hmm.
From Russia. And I noticed that recently I respond with much pride, like, "Yes, I'm Russian. Yeah. So, like, how about you? What's your background?" And people whisper, "Oh, I love Putin. Oh, I
Oh,
love you guys.
wow.
Oh, it's stuff like this." But people immediately come to whisper
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
it's perceived in society as not an open subject and open topic.
yeah.
But I think more people understand the reality what's going on than on the surface what we know.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I have few seconds, I will tell you one experience. I have a couple of females, older friends, older two women living together
Yeah.
here, Americans, Scandinavian descent.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years ago, when all this thing started, I provided them Ukraine under fire of Oliver Stone movie,
Mm-hmm.
and my intent was met with extreme anger,
Oh.
and calling like, "Oh, Oliver is communist. He's a rooper of all socialist in
Oh.
Russia,
Mm-hmm.
whatever." And
Well, then
two
Oliver
days
Stone did a
ago, I
real bad
provided
job fighting in the Vietnam War. He was definitely on the wrong side then, if he's a communist. But
right,
anyways.
right, but again about the movie about him interviewing president at that time. So, but 2 days ago, I sent the link of Tucker Carlson to the same women, and they said, "Oh my gosh, we were waiting for this. Thank you very much."
Oh.
So the same people completely changed
The,
180.
the
You
the
know
the
what I mean?
Overton window in their mind has shifted. It's changed shape. It's
Right.
moved a little bit. Interesting.
Yeah, because every American feel it's in our pocket. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we feel it big time.
All right. Well,
So
all I can
yeah,
say is stay strong. California's it's a heck of a state. It's a weird
yeah,
place to be. But anyways,
right.
stay strong and stay with us. Anyways, thanks. You said you
Mhm.
commented on stuff here. I appreciate that because the more people comment and share stuff, the more subscribers we get. Unfortunately, I think Telegram. I wouldn't be surprised at some point in time. All the sort of pro-Russian English language Telegram channels have all been. It's really hard to gain people. I get them from someone shares something. I'll get a couple hundred and then it vanishes, and there might be a couple hundred, and then it vanishes. Some's against me. But anyways, thanks for your support, and the more you comment, that helps. So anyways, let's go over to Kamik, or K-Meek. I don't know how to really say it, but that's okay. Kamik, did you want to talk? Remember, you have to hit the little button to allow yourself to talk. I can't force you to talk. Hello.
Привет, Тим. Привет,
Привет.
Tim. Hi, Tim. It's Mikhail from Moscow.
Oh, hi.
I just wanted to add my 2 cents on your comments regarding the Russian Saul and the fact
Oh,
that
here I'm in trouble.
Tucker.
All right.
No, don't worry. Actually, I agree with you.
Ah.
I just wanted to add that Tucker and other foreigners in the West, especially, don't seem to get that there's no such thing as the Russian soul.
Yeah.
It's just a different perception, different attitude to life.
Mm.
For example, when I visited the United States 6 years ago, that was my only visit. And I walked through the Disneyland park, and one guy came to me, one black guy, and asked for a cigarette. And I said, sure, go ahead. And suddenly I realized that he he tried to give me if I recall correctly, $1, and I said, man, stop it, don't worry, it's free. And he looked at me very surprisingly.
Yeah.
So you see the reason, the different attitude to life. That's, I mean, people in the West are more pragmatic, and that's it. We're not pragmatic at all.
Yeah. Well,
That's
yeah, or
my
I
own
could
comment.
let me provide an example for you of a little like short video that's it's part of the bigger series of videos, but anyways, we do clips because you have to do clips nowadays to have success on YouTube. And one of the most successful ones was I kind of make fun of my Russian colleagues because while we were filming the northernmost desert in the world, they sort of saw berries by the side of the road and went to stop and pick berries. So that's another thing, like really that moment where they're picking berries as opposed to working. So really supports what you just said, and I totally agree with you. That is a very extremely Russian thing to do, to be like on a work trip and just be like, well, that'll be fun. Let's just do that instead. You know?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, okay, wow. All right, at least have someone who agrees with me, because boy, when you criticize that Russian soul stuff, you get in a lot of trouble. But that's because it's close to people's ego. I thought someone else wanted to call in. I swear after Kamik, also Mikhail, I thought someone else wanted to call in, or did I make that up in my mind? Maybe I did. It's really interesting when this happens a lot. Maybe someone knows on Telegram and they can put in the comments where I'll get like 2 or 3 people want to call in, and I'll be like, okay, you're next, and then one of them just vanishes. And I always wonder, if someone's that interested in the show that or they want to call in, why would they vanish? Or does everyone's do people have terrible connections in English-speaking countries? I don't know. It's very weird. But anyways, we do have some comments from one person who's extremely special to me in my life. She says, I mentioned on your chat that Tucker seemed almost naive in the interview. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but Tucker does a good job of playing the everyman role. Sometimes, because I forget what his education is, but he is definitely not an everyman. Tucker Carlson has never worked like logging or driving a semi. He is definitely from wealth, but he does a very good job of turning on his everyman when he needs to. That kind of came out snarky. I didn't mean that to be a criticism of it. It's just a fact, you know. So. Julia says that maybe he wasn't naive, but he was frightened. I don't know, Julia. I think you're being sarcastic, but let's just say you're not. No, I really don't think that at any point in time Tucker Carlson was frightened by what he was doing. If he was really scared of coming here or thought that he might get shot for asking the wrong question, I don't think he would have come. It's one of those things, like, he would have just come here. You know, I don't think that. But then again, you could have been being sarcastic, so I don't know. I'll tell you this much. One thing that you really also do have to is good to do good interviews is never be intimidated by your guest, whether it be like the most powerful guy in the world, the richest guy in the world, or the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. Or the most famous, you're super like idol number one, like you're the ultimate. I was gonna say Michael Jackson, but he's dead. You're the ultimate Taylor Swift fan. You know, you can't do a good interview if you're gonna be like, oh my God, it's Taylor Swift. My heart's beating out of my chest. You know, you can't do that. So I think Tucker has talked to so many A-listers that I would assume he doesn't get intimidated by interviewing anyone at this point, or at least he shouldn't. Richard, and the many smirks and laughs are both annoying and quite disturbing to me. To what Vladimir Vladimirovich replied at 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 40 seconds, very specific. He said it would be funny if it wasn't so sad, adding the endless nonsensical mobilization of the Ukrainian people. I respect Tucker for what he was able to do that none of the Western journalists, in quotes, even attempted to achieve. Technically, some of the Western journalists have applied to speak to Putin, but you know what those interviews are going to be like. They're going to make all the interviews that all the Western journalists do with Putin, they did with him before the war. They're all just there to crap on him. Oh, Mark wants to talk. That's nice. Mark, we're going to... Oh, no. No. Mark... See, this was what I was just talking about. Is this like some sort of trolling thing that one person does this 1 or 2 times every live stream? Mark was just here. He just raised his hand. And now he not only unraised his hand, which is fine. Totally fine if you just accidentally hit the button. But now he's just completely gone. I don't understand it. I don't understand the technology. But anyways, back to what Richard said. Yeah, about other Western journalists, they do want to talk to Putin, but they want to talk to him so that they can take a nice long interview, edit it down to like a 5 or 6 minute package, and then make him look evil in some way. Because trust me, with the power of editing, no matter what answers you give, you could look like a terrible person, or, given the thing, you're like, I don't know, you say something that's really boring. It's just like, well, I think we all need to put effort. Every citizen should put effort in their country. Putin, hardcore nationalist. He wants to mobilize the masses and make them put all of their time and effort only into the Russian system, just like Kim Jong-un does with the North Koreans. You can take the most, just anything and just twist it. Give it enough editing, give it enough material, and like I said, if you can get the interview to go long enough and you get the guest tired, that's when the nasty stuff can come out. So, yeah. Anyways, Richard continues, but again, this interview brings nothing that was already... Wait. I think you mean to say this interview brings nothing... It brings nothing that was already known. That sounds weird. But anyways, basically no new information. Okay, yeah. Well, for the people who are the sort of Russia followers, yes. For the people who follow the alt media in the West, maybe on sort of like a sliding scale. But if Tucker Carlson could bring some of this information to a more mainstream audience, it could actually be very enlightening for a large amount of people. Yep, he thinks it's human progress. That was something related to Elon Musk. But anyways, Elon Musk even came up in the conversation, and as he is my fellow brother, egomaniac, who sort of works using his own personality as his main facet of employment, or whatever you want to say. I'm sure Elon Musk is like, oh my god, they were talking about me. Yeah, I'm so important. Oh. So I'm sure Elon Musk is thrilled, and also because Elon Musk is such a Russia watcher. Mikhail wants to join back up. Anyways, Mikhail, how about you say what you're going to say, and I'll read the last comments, and then we're going to get out of here, because I wanted this to actually be a short video.
Hi, Tim again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to explain why Tucker looked so weird, especially during the first part of the interview when Putin talked about the history of Russia. And I, what I did was I listened to the interview in Russian and in English, and I noticed that a lot of words said by Putin weren't translated at all. So a lot of words. That means that sometimes, and it's very important, because the problem with translation is the most important one. That's why Tucker looked like, what did he say? What did he mean? I think that was the reason.
Well, yeah,
because
he's listening, and also because I noticed, although, like I said, I think the translator did a great job. That is a very difficult thing to do. But the what is it called?
Agree.
The delay. The delay was very big. It wasn't like 2 or 3 seconds. It was like a 10-second delay. So
because Putin, when Putin used the ancient terms during the Tsar's period and other stuff, uh, I think the interpreter didn't know how to translate, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, because it matters a lot.
I can tell you one thing is that is used as for some of our viewers who are eventually are they're in the process of learning Russian. I can tell you one thing is that sometimes when you go with the language, you go into sort of a zone where you're not comfortable with the terminology. All of a sudden, you feel like you've gone back to square one because you just don't know what stuff is called. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the problem.
All right. Well, thank
Okay,
you,
thank
Mikhail.
you.
I appreciate it, especially from the view of someone who speaks Russian as a native language. And I'm gonna mute you and just say that I agree that I think Putin. This was high emotion. Putin is not a very emotional person. Not at all. Maybe on the inside, who knows? Again, Russian soul. But in general, he is. This was a high emotion Putin, based on his sort of scale of whether he's emotional or not. So this is something where he either is legit just angry and frustrated, or he came into this thing where he was like, okay, I'm gonna project this message, and I'm gonna get a little casual. I'm gonna allow myself to get kind of emotional and kind of angry. And again, it's because everyone has to be like the German dictator of the 1930s. Like that's kind of actually Putin a little bit on the edge of his personal red zone. So very interesting. But anyways, guys, Tim Kirby Russia, I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found some of this information to be unique and a little bit different from other people who analyze stuff in the Russian media. Anyways, I will be back with you in the very near future.